Okay, so for part of my quarantine video series, I thought it would be a good idea to talk about how to work with integers. So when we talk about integers, what we mean is we're talking about what you're probably grown up thinking of as whole numbers. So numbers that aren't fractions, they aren't decimals. And the difference between an integer and a whole number is that an integer includes negative numbers, whereas whole numbers are 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and going up by ones up to infinity. And natural numbers are the same thing as whole numbers, except you don't include zero. So that's your quick little number theory lesson. But integers is what we're interested in. And so basically, when you think of integers, just think of signed numbers. We're talking about signed numbers. We're talking about numbers that aren't going to be fractions and decimals. All right, so this video is a quick kind of tune up on adding integers. And some of this stuff you're going to be like, why does he even have that on there? I did that in third grade. Here's the thing. If you understand the concept of how to do this and you know what to look for, this becomes a lot easier. But if you don't understand why you're doing something and what you're doing, you're never going to be able to do it consistently. So my hope is that I'll show you a good way to look at these and go, oh, well, of course, my answer is going to be blah, 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 and that it will stick. So this first example here is kind of the one I was thinking of in particular that most of you are probably like, duh. So you have 11 plus 27, and this is a standard addition problem, and most of you have probably added it up together, all right, and know the answer already. But what I want to ask you before I do that is my answer going to be positive or negative? And that should be pretty straightforward because I don't even know if you thought about that. You probably just assumed it was positive. But the reason you assumed it was positive is, without possibly even knowing this, is that they're both positive numbers. And when you add two positive numbers, the only thing it can be is positive. It can't be negative. You can't make a negative number when you add two positive numbers. Try it. You can't do it. All right? So with something like this, as long as you know that, well, my result's going to be positive, right? And then it's just a matter of adding them up, and, you get 7 plus 1 is 8, and 3, and you get an answer of 38, and because it's positive, we don't have to put that in front of it, all right? We can just leave it blank, because that's what we're used to doing. So there's kind of a rule we're going to establish here throughout this video, and you're going to see it soon. All right, now look at this problem. Now, usually when I show this problem to a lot of kids, they start to panic, and I can see things, going in their head and blah 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 blah. So what I would say is, if we were on a number line, right, and let's just say, sorry, that's a really lame number line. Say this is 0, right, and then so -4 is going to put you about right here, right, and then -13 means that you're moving to the left 13 spaces, right? So you would go, well, we'll do 3, 6. Oh, what? Wow, that was weird. So we'll go 3, 6, 9, 12, and then one more is 13, right? So, and that would put me, if you actually counted that would put me at the point -17. Now, I don't know if you realize this, but if I did a mirror image of that, right, on the other side of the 0 line, and I said, okay, we're going to make this 0, and I started at 4, and I went 1, 2, 3, 4, and I went, well, let's see, so we'll go by 4s this time. So 4, 8, I'm not changing that, 12, and then 13, and you put your point here, right? That would put you at the point +17. You're going the same distance away. The only difference is if you're starting from the negative, you're still moving 13 units. You're still going to wind up 13 units, after that 4. So the idea I want you to get here is that when these signs are the same, when you have two negatives, it's the same exact thing as adding them when they're two positives. The only difference is your final answer is negative. So if you have -4 and -13, you can just go, well, 4 plus 13 gives me 17. And because both numbers were negative, my answer is going to be negative. And the reason that is because there is no possible way for you to have two negative numbers and wind up with anything other than negative. And it's the same thing as the positive rule. So if the signs are the same, then you have to make that you have to recognize that your answer is going to be the same as the signs. Right? If they're the same. If they're not the same, then not weird things happen, predictable things happen. But we'll talk about that. So I'm going to pause the video right here because this isn't a video where I'm going to do a bunch of examples of it. I'm just kind of explaining the rule for you, all right? And then we're gonna have another short little video on what do we do when the signs are different.